Hello, I'm Ben with Van's Woodshop. Today, I'll be teaching you how to make an American flag in Vcarve. Disclaimer, this video is not sponsored by Vcarve. Let's get started. The way I'm doing it today, I'm using Vcarve Pro, but this will also work in Vcarve Desktop. Alright, so let's get started here. So I've got Vcarve open. We're going to start with create a new file. For today, I'm going to do one the size that'll work for desktop also. So we're just going to do one that's 16 inches wide, and the height I've got 8.53, and I'll show you right now how I figured out that number if we're doing a 16-inch wide one. Alright, you're going to need two more things open other than Vcarve. You're going to need a calculator, and you're going to need an American flag size and proportion. I highly recommend using inchcalculator.com. I'll put the link to this down below. That way it's easy to find. Alright, so for my width, I put in flag dimensions. I'm going 16 inches wide. That's the length of the flag. And it automatically calculates for me the height. That's going to be A right here. That's 8 and 17/30 seconds. So all you do is take your calculator, 17 divided by 32, and then add 8 to it. And that is where I got my height of 8.5312. Vcarve's not going to go any further than that in the decimal, so 4 places out is good enough. Alright, so once I got my width and my height, thickness, I'm just going to assume the material I'm using today is 1 inch thick. Then you come click OK in the bottom left corner. Alright, so that's the size of our window that we're using. Next step is we've got to figure out the union, where the stars go. We're going to base all our measurements off that union. So we go to our flag calculator, and that's going to be C for height and D for length. So let's grab our calculator. Height is going to be 4 and 1932. So 19 divided by 32. Then add the 4 back in. So you get 4.5937. Alright, so in Vcarve, you're going to go over here to create vectors and click the rectangle. So we just said our height, let me open the calculator back up, is 4.5937. Alright, now we still need our width though. So the width is going to be D. That's 6 and 13/30 seconds. So 13 divided by 32, 0.4062. Gotta add the 6 back in there. So our width is 6.4062. Alright, once you get those in there, you're just going to click create. It's going to pop up a rectangle. It's going to be off-centered, but that's not a problem. Go ahead and close this window, and then left click on your rectangle somewhere, and then under transform objects, click move selected object, grab the center of it, and try to line it up as close as you can, and then put your cursor up near the corner of it, and just use your mouse roller, and roll into that corner. And as you get closer, start using your arrow keys to start lining up this corner. Like now I'm pushing the left arrow and the down arrow. I get close, then I'm going to wheel in more. Moving down. Moving to the right a little bit. Alright, this is as far as I can zoom in. So I'm just going to get it as close as possible. And then go ahead and use that wheel and zoom back out. Okay, so here's our union. This is where all our stars are going to go. We're going to base all the rest of our measurements off that union. Alright, so our next step is we're going to go ahead and add the stripes in with because they're much easier than adding the stars. Stars are kind of a pain in the butt. Alright, for the stripes, you've got A is the entire height of the flag. So A, you've got 8 inches and 17 over 32. Pop our calculator back up. 17 divided by 32. Add our 8 inches back in there, so we get 8.5312. Alright, but that's not the number we need, that's the whole length of it. So you got to divide that by the number of stripes we got. You've got 13 stripes. So divide that by 13, and you get 0.6562. So we know that's the height of every single one of these stripes to fit in there perfect. Alright, so next we go back over to create vectors, and we're going to create another rectangle. We're not too worried about the width. We can manually adjust the width to fit on the flag. But we're going to go back to the height, which is 0.6562. And then go ahead and hit create. Once you create it, go ahead and close, get that window out of the way. Alright, so grab your first stripe, and I like moving stuff with the arrow keys. I just find it's easier for me. I'm going to slide it all the way over here. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and line it up on the union. So I'm using the roller wheel on my mouse. I'm just zooming all the way in. And then using my arrow keys to bring it left a little bit. Alright, so there we go. Now I'm rolling back out just to zoom it out. And now I'm going to use my up arrow key and bring it all the way to the top. Still not worried about the width yet. We'll get there. Alright, let's roll back in. Just zooming in. Bring it down a little bit. Bring it down. Alright, there we go. So now obviously we need to make it to the end of the flag. So come over to Transform Objects and select Object Size. Alright, so you got these 3 dots over here. You want to grab the one in the middle, and you want the cross X's. You do not want this shape right here. If you grab this, it's going to move the object. It's not going to make it longer. So get off it, go back on, make sure you have the X, left click, and just pull it straight out to the right. Alright, you can snap it to the edge of the flag, but we're going to go a little bit beyond, and I'll explain why in just a second. Alright, get it past just a little bit. Okay. Alright, so the reason we extended it past just a little bit, if we snap it perfectly to the edge of our workpiece right here, when we go to cut this, the bit is going to stop right at the edge, and it's going to leave little half circles on the corner that's not cut. And you're going to have to go back with a file, and you're going to have to file it down. So if you go ahead and snap this out just a little bit past your workpiece, it's going to cut that bit the whole way past the end of the flag, and you're going to have nice, clean, smooth edges. Alright, so once you've got it the right size, just left click anywhere on the screen. Alright, and zoom out just a little bit so you can see what we got so far. Alright, so there's one. We need more. So go ahead and left click that stripe again. And then on your keyboard, you're going to Control C for copy. And then Control V for paste. And it's going to paste another one right on top of that. But just go ahead and use your down arrow. So all we need to do is the vertical axis right now. Because we already know right and left is good to go from that first one. Zoom in. Just keep coming down. Keep zooming in until you can't zoom in anymore. Get it lined up perfectly. There we go. Alright. Then go ahead and hit Control V again. It's going to bring up another one. And then your down arrow, just bring it on down. Zoom in and line it up again. I'm going to start going a little bit faster here just so this video doesn't take too long. But you can take as long as you need and pause if you have to. Now I'm zooming back out. Control V, paste on another one. Alright, I'm zooming in again. I'm just doing the same thing over here. Lining them all up. Zooming back out. Alright, we're not going to leave all these on the flag because we're not carving every single stripe. But I'm going to show you why we're just going ahead and putting one on every one right now. Here in a minute. Alright, zooming in, lining the next one up, going down. Alright, zooming back out. Control V. Down arrow, bring it all the way down. Alright, just zooming in, lining it up again. Alright, zooming back out. Control V one more time. Bring it all the way down. Zoom in. Coming up a little bit. Alright, right there. So now zoom it back out. And now if you come over here where the union is, and you zoom in, and we're zoomed really, really far in here, but they're even. Trust me, when you cut that itty bit that you're seeing right there as we're zooming in, you're zoomed in so far, unless you're making a flag 2 millimeters by 2 millimeters, you're never going to be able to see it. Alright, so we're zoomed back out now. Now, we don't need all these, because we're not going to cut every stripe, or you're just going to have a flat flag again. So, you got to look, if you don't know off the top of your head, just look at your flag in the inch calculator, and you got red stripes and the white stripes. The way I personally like to do it is I carve the white stripes out, because I'll paint this whole surface red first, and then I'll come in and I'll carve out the stripes, and I'll leave the stripes the natural wood color. You can do it the reverse way if you want, but for learning purposes, we're going to leave the white ones to those are the ones we're going to carve. Alright, so knowing that this top stripe is going to be a red stripe, we're not carving it. I'm going to left click on this box, the rectangle we put up there, and I'm going to bring it all the way down. And I'm going to line it up right below that next one below it. Alright, once I get it, I'm going to zoom out. Then I'm going to come over to this left side over here. And I'm going to get the X, left click, and pull it all the way to the end of the flag. And then just go a little bit beyond. Alright, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in under the union, because that's where it's important for this one to be lined up perfectly. Alright, then back out again. Alright, so if you look, everything's still lined up perfectly. Even though if I zoom in over here, when I get really, 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 really close, it looks like it's off a little bit. It's not. It's just the computer renderings of it. Don't worry about it. Alright, so we're not cutting this first stripe. We are cutting this stripe, so we're not going to touch it. Go down to this one, left click it, and then hold that down arrow. Move it all the way down again. Alright, once we get it down where we want it, zoom in again. Same thing we did up top. Just keep zooming in. Line it up. Zoom back out. And we're going to come over here, grab this left side, pull it all the way over. Match that first one again. Alright, now the easier way to do this, instead of pulling these down and extending them again. So, red stripe we're not cutting. White stripe we're cutting. Red stripe we're not cutting. White stripe we're cutting. This row is going to get cut, so we're going to left click it and then just delete it. We don't need it. We're cutting this one. We're not going to cut this red one, so left click it and delete it again. Alright, so we've got these two here, and we need to keep going. So now just go up to the top right of them, left click, and draw a box over those two, and let go. It's going to grab both of them. Now Control C to copy it, then Control V to paste it, and then the down arrow. Now we're doing two at a time instead of doing one at a time. So just zoom in, line it back up. Alright, good to go. Zoom back out. And then we can Control V again. We get two more. Alright, we zoom back in. Line them up again. Alright, there we go. And if you look at the very bottom, yeah, it looks like it's off just a little bit when we're zoomed all the way in, but we're at 4 decimals down here. it's lined up. Okay, back out again. Right click, left click anywhere. Sorry. If you right click, it's just going to bring up this menu. It doesn't really matter. So just left click again to get back out of there. Okay, so again, now we've got these stripes down here. We got to figure out which ones we're carving, which ones we're not carving. So the last one up top we're carving is this one right here. So we're not carving this one. That means we are going to carve the first long one under the union. We're not going to carve the next one, so delete it. Carving it, not carving it, delete, carving it, not carving the very bottom one, delete. Alright, so now we've got all our stripes on there. We've got our union, and we still got to make the stars and do a couple other things. We can go ahead and close this size now. We don't need it up anymore for now. One thing I like to do, this just makes it easier for later, is come over to the top right, select all your stripes, and then come over to Edit Objects, and this one right here, Group Selected Objects. What it's going to do is anytime I click on one of the stripes now, it's going to select them all. That way, they stay the same distance apart from everything. You don't have to worry about it if you've got them grouped like that. If you accidentally bump it and move it, if you move them back to where the first one underneath the union is lined up perfect again, all the rest of them will be lined up perfect because they're all attached to each other. Alright, so now we're going to move on to the biggest pain in the tail, stars. Alright, so you'd think it'd be really easy because they've got this little star icon up here. And you can click Draw Star. Let's go back to our flag calculator to make sure we got the right size star. And we're going to need our calculator. So K, that is the diameter of the star. That's the entire width and height of the star. So we come down here, K is 17 over 32, so we do 17 divided by 32, and we get 5312. That is not the number you want to put in here for the outer radius. So if you look over here, K is the diameter, not just the radius. The radius is from the center point out. They're measuring from one end of the star to the other end. So we need to take this 53125 and divide it by 2. So we get 0.2656. That's the number we want. Alright, so I've already got 0.2656 in mine over here because I was playing with this earlier. So once you get it in there for the outer radius, you don't need to touch anything else. Just click Create. It's going to put a star out in the middle of your union somewhere, or somewhere on your screen. Alright, go ahead and hit Close, and then just start zooming into that star. Alright, so that star does not look like a star on an American flag. If you look at the ones on the American flag, they're flat. This is not flat. It's kind of angling up. They're angling up to the side, this way, that way, and everything else. So we've got to fix that. It's actually really, really easy. So what you're going to do is you're going to come over to Create Vectors, click on the Draw Line / Polyline. Alright, so you get this little icon that pops up. You're going to put your mouse over one of the points of the star. And just left click, and then drag it out. Don't hold it down. It's just a left click when you hit that point over there. Drag it straight across to the next point of the star. Left click again, and then drag it down to the next point down there. Left click again, drag it all the way to the top now. Left click again, bring it all the way down to the bottom right. Left click, and all the way back up to where we started. Alright, once you get to where you started, just pull out anywhere in the screen and right click, and it'll stop drawing the lines. Alright, so that's the shape we need our star to be. So the easiest way to do this now is to zoom in just a little bit more, click the outer edge that's all messed up, so you click the star you already created. Now come over to Edit Objects, and it's the second arrow here, the Node Editing Mode. You're going to left click that, and you get all these points. It's all the nodes in this star. So now what we do is if you start in this top left over here, grab that node, and just bring it straight down, until it's on that line. I grab the one on the right over here and bring it down to match the next corner. Not straight down, you're bringing it to match the corners that we created in here. So now you're coming over here to this one on the right, grab it, and just bring it in until it matches. The very bottom one, left click, and pull it straight up until it matches. Alright, last little guy over here, left click them, and pull them over to the right until it matches up. Alright, once you've got them all pulled in to where they match what we just drew with our lines, come out here somewhere and just right click. And now it looks like a pretty star with the crazy lines in the middle of it. So just come left click on any of these lines in here, and then hit the delete button. Now you've got a perfect star. If at any point while you're doing this you screw up and you want to try to figure out how to get back to where you were, all you've got to do is come up here and come to edit. Say if I just deleted the wrong thing, and come up here to edit and undo delete. It's going to bring back whatever you just screwed up. But I'm going to delete it again because I deleted the right one. Alright, so now we've got one star, and obviously we need a whole bunch more on the flag, and we've got to put them in the right spot. I'm going to left click because I don't want to do node edit anymore. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring up our flag calculator again. So the easiest way to do this is we're going to make grids within the entire union to match all our stars up. To get those dimensions, we're going to pull up your calculator. We're going to make a bunch of we're going to make one row of rectangles. It'll make sense once we get going here. So here it has G and H and E and F for the sizes. I don't know why they did that. Don't let it fool you. G and H on the horizontal are the exact same size. And E and F for the vertical are the exact same size. So the easier way to do this is take dimension D, which is 6 and 13/32. So we do 13 divided by 32. And add the 6 back in. So we get 6.40625. Well, we're going to count the number of rows we need here. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So we need 12 rows. So take your 6.4, divide it by 12. Alright, you get this long crazy number. We only need the first 4 digits. So we know the width of the rectangle we need to make up here to place our star is 0.5338. Alright, so we're going to come back into Vcarve, go to Create Vectors. We're going to make a triangle again. And look at our calculator, so the width is 0.5338. So go right here, 0.5338. Alright, we're not done yet though, because we still got to get the height. So pulling up the flag calculator and my calculator again, so now you got C, which is 4 and 19 over 32. So we're going to have 19 divided by 32. Alright, add the 4 back in. And what do we got for height? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We need 10 rows vertically. So we're going to divide that by 10. And you get 0.4593. So over to the height, now it's going to be 0.4593. Alright, and then just hit the create button. Alright, so you get one little rectangle out there. Go ahead and hit the close button. We don't need this over here anymore. So now come over here and click your rectangle, and then using your arrows, go ahead and bring it all the way up, bring it all the way over. Alright, I'm just zooming in and out. I'm trying to get it lined up. Alright, zooming into this corner. Corner's what matters. Perfect, right there. Okay, so now we need to grid this entire thing out. What I'm going to do is I'm going to left click my star, and I'm going to use my arrow keys, and I'm just going to get it out of the way for now. Alright, so then come back down here, left click on your rectangle you just made. Then you're going to Control C for copy, Control V for paste, and then just bring it straight down. Zoom it in, keep bringing it down. Alright, zooming back out. Now, to make it easier on myself, I'm going to come over to the right, left click, and drag. Now I can select two of them. Control C, Control V, and now down arrow. Alright, zooming back in, bring it down. Just zooming in and lining it up vertically. I don't need to mess with the horizontal because it's already right. Alright, now left click out here anywhere again, and now I've got four of them. So I'm just going to left click out to the right, drag and carry. Now I can do four at a time. Control C, Control V, and down arrow. Alright, up just a little bit. Now zooming in and just lining the vertical up again. This will all make sense in just a second why we're doing this. Alright, so I just left click to let go of them because I don't need four again. Now all I need is two. So I'm just left clicking and dragging over two of them. Control C, Control V, and down. And you can see it's going to line up perfect down here. Alright, zooming in, doing the vertical again. Alright, there we go. Got it. Alright, now, since we've got one row done, we're going to come up here, we're going to left click and drag, and we're going to select the entire row. Now that we got the entire row selected, come over to Edit Objects and group them. Alright, so now if we screw up at any point, we know this entire row is already stacked vertically properly, so we've got a good starting point and we don't have to do that again. But now that we got them selected, you can Control C, Control V, and right arrow. Nope, not right arrow. You got to come over to Transform Objects and Move Selected Objects. So left click Move Selected Objects, and now you can hit the left arrow. Nope, see, I'm just screwing up entirely. Alright, I didn't select it, so you got to come over here, select the center. Now right arrow over. My apologies. Alright, so now I'm zooming in. You always got to select your item before you can move it. It makes sense. Now I'm just zooming all the way in and lining them up horizontally. I don't have to line them up vertically because it's already good. So I've got that one set. Now Control V, paste in another set. Zooming in. Just lining them up horizontally. Alright, there we go. Alright, now I'm going to make this easier on myself. Just left click out here anywhere. Left click and drag over three of them. You're going to select all three. And now Control C, Control V. Now I can right arrow and move three at a time. Zoom it in and line them up. You can see I accidentally hit the down arrow there once, so I just up arrowed it and fixed it. Since I did, I'm going to check it. Yeah, we're good. Okay. Now right clicking or left clicking out here anywhere. Now I'm going to go ahead and grab all of them again. And then Control C, Control V, and right arrow. And now zoom back in. Alright, that side's lined up. I'm just going to go ahead and check over here to make sure. Yep, we're lined up. We're good. Okay, so now we've got our grid. So now we can start placing our stars. But we need a whole bunch more stars. So select your star. It's easier if you come over here to the left. Go ahead and Control C, Control V, and then come on down. Then Control V, make another one, and bring it down. Control V, get a fourth one, and then Control V, how do we want to line these up? So your first row has 5 stars in it. So the grids we just made is this dimension from the top to the bottom, E, we've got this, and then from this side to here, the G, this. This first star, you select it, this center point needs centered on that line, right there, where that grid is. It's that easy. And then scroll back out. If you look at this second star, you're going to skip a grid, and its center is on the next line down there. So grab the second star, skip one, center it. Same with the next one. Grab it, left clicking, grab the center, center it. Left click your next one, center point. Left click this one, center point. You've got perfectly aligned stars. Simple, isn't it? Once you know the trick. Alright, now we got to do the rest of it. That's easy too, because now you're going to hold the shift key, click the top star, and then just click every other star while holding that shift key. Now Control C, Control V, and right arrow over. We're going to skip this row, go to this row, and zoom in. All you got to do is zoom in to one of the points in the stars because they're all attached. So zoom into one of the points and line it up. Everything else is already lined up for you. So Control V again, and right arrow over. One, skip it, go to the next one, zoom in, and all you got to do is your right and left to line up. Don't move up and down, or you're going to screw up your alignment vertically. Just right and left. All right, we're going to do it again, all the way to the right. Skip one, go to the second set, now come back. Just zoom it in and line it up. There we go. Now Control V for another set. Swing them over to the right, zoom it in. Don't mess with that vertical axis, just the right and left. Alright, and one more set here. Control V, and right arrow all the way over to the right again. Zoom it in. Alright, zoom it back out. Alright, so we got most of our stars on there. Alright, we're going to Control V one more time. And now we're going to bring them over to the left. Just get them out of the way. Alright. So the inside sets rows are only 4 stars, and we got 5, so all you got to do is come over here, click the bottom star, and delete that sucker. Alright, now these 4 are already vertically lined. So we want to make sure we group them all together. So come up above to the right, left click, and drag around all of them. Once you got them all selected here, now you're going to use your arrow keys. You're going to bring them over, line them up on that second row. Alright, so now it's centered here. We need it centered down here. So just hold your down key. Try to get it as close as you can. Alright, so now you're going to left click out of it. It's close, but we want to be perfect. So now you're going to click each individual star, zoom in here, see we're off just a little bit. Grab that point, snap it to the cross point. So zoom out, zoom back in, grab the next star down, grab that center point with a left click, and just snap it to the grid. Zoom it out, zoom it in, grabbing the next star with a left click, and snapping it down just a little bit. Alright, same with the last guy down here at the bottom. All right, so now we know they are aligned perfectly vertical and horizontal. So now you're going to hold your shift key and click this row of stars, because we got to add them everywhere else in the flag. So Control C, Control V, and now we don't have to do the horizontal anymore, or the vertical anymore. We do have to do horizontal. Just swing them over to the right. Zooming in, using the wheel and the mouse still. Alright, got that one good. Control V, paste some more in there. Right arrow, swing them all the way over. Zooming in. Zooming back out. Control V again. Right arrow, swing them all the way over. Zooming in. Zooming back out. Alright, one more time. Control V. Right arrow. All the way over. Zooming back in. Left arrow a little bit. Lined up. Alright, so now we got our union with all stars, but we get all those grids in the way that look ugly. Well, because we grouped them earlier, just come up here. Left click. Delete. Left click. Delete. We're just going to select all these extra grids we got in here and delete them. We don't need them anymore. There we go. Alright. So now, we're not done yet. You're going to come over here to the right, left click inside the union, drag and select all of those stars. Don't touch any arrow keys. You don't want to move anything. You got them all lined up perfect. Come over here and close this. Then go to Edit Objects and group the selected objects. Alright. Now left click anywhere. Okay, I usually leave this box around the union. We're not going to cut it or do anything with it, but it's good in case you need to move stuff around or check alignment on things later, because now that you have this flag created, you can resize this entire thing. Because what we've got it right now is we've got it for 16 inches wide and 8.5 inches tall. If you decide you want to make a bigger flag, all you have to do is come over here somewhere, right click, select everything, set select object size, leave the link XY, and change whatever width or height you want. And it will automatically change the stars, all the stripes, and everything else you need to your perfect size. But we're going to leave it the way it is right now. We're going to close it and get out of here. So now, all you've got to do is go to Toolpaths. I'm going to pin it open just to make it easy. Alright, Vcarve. Click one of your stars. It'll select them all because we grouped them. For almost every flag I make, I use a 60-degree half-inch V-bit, so I'm just going to leave it. I always rename it stars, that way you know which file you're cutting. Alright, calculate. Then come over here, it brings up the preview toolpath. Preview all toolpaths. Boom. Beautiful, perfect stars. Alright, we're going to hit the close. Now you got to come over to 2D view to get out of the 3D view. Come over here and left click anywhere and just slide and select all of your stripes. For this one, you're going to do a pocket toolpath. Left click pocket toolpath. I've got the cut depth set to a 1/4 inch because we said our material was 1 inch thick, so that'll be good enough. The end mill, it's going to depend on how clean corners do you want. I usually use a 1/4 inch for everything, and I'll show you why. You'll see here as soon as I do the calculate and review it. But 1/4 inch usually is good enough. If it's not, you can go back in with a chisel and square off your corners to be perfect. But we're going to name this one Stripes. Calculate. Alright, before you hit preview all toolpaths, just get in a habit of always clicking reset preview. That way it shows you everything that it's going to cut right now, because you've got both toolpaths created, the stars and the stripes. So come up here, click Preview All Toolpaths. And you got yourself a perfect flag. So remember earlier in the beginning where I had to drag these out just a little bit? See how you're getting perfect edges on all these stripes? If we'd have had those rows end perfect with the flag, it would have rounded the edges off because it would have stopped right before it got to the end. And there'd be little round edges on the corners. And you don't ever want that. But as I was saying, with the 1/4 inch bit, you see how these ones are rounded just a little bit? Generally, it's not going to make a big difference. I mean, you can go with a smaller bit if you want, or you can just come in here with a chisel and square these corners off. It's just personal preference for you. So there you have it. That's how you create a perfect American flag every time. If you like this video, then please do me a favor, hit the like down there below, subscribe. I'm going to do more like this. And if you want to make a comment, some of my next tutorials I'm going to show you how to implant something on the flag to carve around and leave a design on it. So thank you again for one more thing I forgot to show you. Have a great day. Don't forget to save your file. Click File up there in the top left and save this. Don't close out of the window before you forget to save it. Alright, now have a good day.